Welcome to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado. These are conversations with women who are building meaningful careers, stepping into leadership, and designing life on their own.
So most people think success is about what you know, but the people playing at the higher level, they know something different. And it's not about just knowledge. It's not even about strategy. That's part of it, right? It's who you are in the room and how you show up when you are there. And today, guests, I'm super excited because she doesn't just understand leadership. She studies what actually will move decisions, will move people inside of the most powerful room in business. And from McKinsey to executive peer council, she has spent her career inside of conversations that most people will never hear about it. And now, through her work, Melissa, she wrote a book and she's showing leaders how to level up by leveraging something most people completely underuse, that network, but not in a transactional way like a lot of people do and they have been taught, but in a way that expands your thinking, your access, and your influence. So, Melissa, I want to welcome you. I am so excited to have you here. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, I mean it's an honor. I know our audience want to hear your story, get to know you. Who is Melissa and how she has get to where she is today. So, can you tell us about what you do because you have such an amazing approach with a different perspective?
Yeah, I do a lot of different things. And so it turns out mostly what I do is say yes to a lot of different things. I had the pleasure of working alongside some incredibly smart people. And as they've picked up things and had ideas, they've brought me along for that journey because I was willing to say yes. So I've been part of one business that is all about creating executive peer networks for leaders who've basically run themselves out of peers in their own organization. There's only one CFO, one VP of marketing in every organization, but we all know you need somebody who is in the same boat as you to bounce ideas off of. And so a colleague of mine from business school started this peer networking group for leaders where you can give and receive help, where you can help one another level up. And he asked me to get involved. And so I've been involved with Collaborative Gain for quite a while, helping those executives join groups where they get and give that kind of help. A colleague of mine from my doctoral program said, do you really have to do how can you be good at business and be a good business person? Both kinds of good, a good leader and a good performing leader, high performance, good sportsmanship. And we sort of collaborated, have formed this company Ad Lucem Group, which does consulting in that space, and wrote this book, The Intentional Executive, about how to be more intentional about doing good business in a good way. And I also do teaching around some of those same concepts where leaders are trying to take the latest best practices and apply them in their world. And when somebody asked me if I would be willing to teach again, I said yes. So I've gotten to be a part of these different organizations where leaders are actively leveling themselves up, and having that ringside seat has allowed me to take some of these learnings and pass them along to other people, which is
Wow.
really my passion.
Yes, I can feel that too. I can feel that too. And I love what you said about the different type of leadership and business, like how to be a good business person and how to be a high performance leader, because they're
Yeah.
completely different. And it's sometimes people have that misconception. And in fact, actually misconceptions. What is a common myth or misconception in this type of field when you're comparing those two?
Well, honestly, people think that you have to choose between being a high performer and a good person. And that's absolutely not the case. And one of my favorite mentors is Warren Buffett. Now, he doesn't know he's my mentor, but he's incredible because, I mean, we can arguably state that, he is one of the most high performance leaders in business. He is all about generating growth, profit, and revenue, right? But when you read his shareholder letters, when you look at how he shows up, he clearly values ethics, morals, doing the right thing, good business, and the right thing. And he keeps them together. And so you don't have to be a jerk to be like the CEO. You don't have to be so focused on performance that you aren't an ethical stand-up person. And in fact, it's not that you have to choose between the two. If you don't choose to be that ethical, good leader who engages others, you're probably not going to perform as highly as you want to. So it undermines your performance rather than expands your performance to be a jerk.
Yeah, 100%. And how do you think that reflects in the group, right? When you have that kind of undesirable leader, let's call it that way.
It's really toxic. And not only that, but I mean, if you've ever been on a team where, you've got one ball hog or puck hog, depending on what sport you're playing. We're all watching hockey these days. My kids played hockey growing up, but the great hockey players are the same as the great business leaders. Like Gretzky had more assists than points scored himself. It's the people who sort of show up well and level everyone else up that end up performing the best. And if you get someone who's toxic, who's a puck hog, who's not a good passer, who doesn't level up others, what you find is that you sort of devolve to the lowest common denominator and you don't get the performance that you need.
Yes, 100%. I think it's Keith Conahan that he talks about is the little things that you do every day, the small things that lead to the highest performance, but focus on those right things. And I think John Wooden too.
Oh, yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of the sport.
Oh my God. Yes. He talked about that, like the importance of, yes, the score is going to be important. Everyone wants to win. But if you don't focus on that performance, like passing that ball, doing what you're supposed to, then you miss the real big deal, the real going for this championship. So
yeah. And the interesting thing is that, today's reality is most of our work is accomplished in groups or teams.
yes.
And no strong individual will ever beat a team's performance. And you can put together a group of stars who are individual rock stars, but if they're not performing together, it'll never work. And that's exactly what happened in basketball when the dream team failed to perform on the international stage and they didn't get the gold medal because they didn't have the time to work together. They were individual performers. And as leaders, it can be so easy to fall into that trap and forget that you got to bring everybody else along with you. You got to co-create your strategy. You have to co-create what you're doing because the group will always outstrip the individual.
100%. It's so true. It's so true. It's like there's the stars and there's the universe. Which one you want to go for?
Exactly.
So, what do you enjoy most about your work? Because you sound so passionate, and there's always that thing that you just love it. What is it?
I got totally addicted to this in college when I started rowing and I was a coxswain on the team. And the thing I got addicted to is helping someone else do something they didn't know was possible, and watching organizations and individuals do things that they didn't know was possible beforehand. Is really what makes me most excited. So, facilitating conversations, getting tools out there to people, coaching people through leveling up performance, and understanding that you can be a good person and an extraordinary performer, and watching that happen, watching people blossom and bloom, sort of being their co-pilot on that journey, whether that's in a class that I've taught or at work on a team that I'm leading, or maybe it's with a peer, or maybe it's in my CEO's forum or general manager's forum where we're trying to help one another drive success in our own businesses.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so powerful. Yeah, that will take you far, very far.
It's
to
honestly, it's the most fun I've ever had. And, some of us only get the privilege to do that with our children or with the one or two people we work with. I've had the opportunity, just by saying yes to all of these crazy ideas that people came at me with, to do that in a variety of contexts.
Yes, I mean the desire and the curiosity to explore different ways to get that fulfillment, to get that knowledge desired fulfill, right? Because that's something that we do too in regards to wanting to get to learn more, do different things. And especially you had an amazing journey and you have done many things across different industries. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh my gosh. Like everything, when you look back on it, it's a thread that makes logical sense. But at the time that wasn't the case. It was just like one crazy thing after another, and it felt really random. So I started out as an engineer. I got really interested in product development and innovation, and then I started doing that, and then that drugged me into consulting in that space, and I got interested in business, and I went into that, and then I thought we ought to be able to do business and be good people. So I got a doctorate in values-driven leadership and did that, and I've spent most of my career doing strategy or consulting in strategy, and I just pulled that thread through of problems worth solving, and it sort of took me into other places. And I followed people that I thought were solving problems and leading teams towards solutions that I thought were worth solving and interesting. And so I just kept saying yes to whatever new thing it was, and it I followed it there. And so these strategy roles, I've had strategy roles in technology companies, in consulting companies, in banking and financial institutions, and I've stepped into doing some writing and some research in academia, and it's all been about interesting problems to solve in retrospect. But I didn't know that logic at the time. And that curiosity took me. I've lived in 5 different countries and worked in each of those places. And I learned lots of new and interesting things, and just followed my curiosity.
Yes. Something that you say, you gave so much good nuggets, right? You have to be curious and then you add and how saying yes have opened those doors. But something that really caught my attention is, and what I love about when I was reading about you when we were connecting, is the fact that you can have the best strategy, but if you don't have the leadership to drive this strategy, they collapse.
Exactly. Um,
And I love, go ahead, sorry.
Ex- Exactly. And that is the challenge that most of us fall into. I always tell people it's like my diet and exercise plan. On
Yeah.
paper, it can look great. But if I make my day-to-day choices that aren't consistent with that, it's not going to end well. And I also have to co-opt others into that strategy. So when I'm thinking about designing a system that executes it, it's about ideas and implementation. It's the theoretical and the practical. And I need colleagues to come around me and systems that come around me that help support that. But I also need to understand how I'm going to execute on that. And in this day and age, I got to be ready to course correct because the world, the environment, the technology is changing fast. And so the number one strength I think great leaders have is that they don't wait for change to stop. They learn, it's like I think about they don't sit on the beach waiting for calm water to swim in. They learn to surf. And it's really about learning to surf through those moments and getting people around you who can help you be a better surfer and who can surf with you.
Yes, 100%. That I'm an islander, so I love that.
Awesome.
Yes, because I always say, like, if you see a big wave, there's the people who just sit there and scream about the wave crashing them. There's the ones that swim through them, and there's the ones like, no, I'm gonna learn. And yes, I'm gonna fall, but I'm gonna learn how to surf through these waves. And
Yeah.
those are the ones that develop the courage, the emotional intelligence, the strategy, the leadership for just being courageous, willing, and curious about how do I do this?
I think they also have to, the difference between good and great is the people who not only do that, but they lower the stress levels of other people around them so they can get out there and surf. And they teach others how to do it. They bring others along with them. They don't make it something that is about their success. They use different pronouns. They use us, we, our, and they engage those other people so they create an environment around them that is extraordinary, that allows everyone to perform at their absolute best level, and it creates a learning environment. So I'm not only learning by what I'm doing, I can learn from all of you, and we all learn together and level up consistently.
Love it. Love it. It's taking it to, as you say, leveling up, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you learn it, but to your point, what's the point if you don't bring other people with you, which you mentioned is it your books highlight some of that. What is the name of your book?
It's called The Intentional Executive. And
Mhm.
it's basically, we were lucky enough to have ringside seats to a lot of executive transitions. We saw ones that worked, ones that didn't work. And we tried to pick out what separated the good from the bad and the tools that other people could then use to ensure they're most likely to be successful.
Yes.
So it's sort of a playbook for like, I just got a new job. I need to think about it in a structured way. How do I think about that? I'm tackling a new problem. How do I frame that up for other people? What do I need to make sure I didn't forget to do? And often as leaders, it's not that we don't know a lot of these things. It's that pressure, stress, urgency comes into play, and the things that we remembered before or the mistakes that we've made before, in the heat of the moment we forget to lean in and remember all those things, and we forget to do them in that next moment, when we're in a hurry, when we're other things. And so this just sort of structures your approach in a way that keeps you from forgetting all the lessons that you learned, and maybe add some lessons that you don't have to learn the hard way.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, that right there embodies like pretty much success. So I want to know, Melissa, what does success mean to you now that it wasn't used to?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I started out thinking Well, first, I wasn't sure what success was. I was just trying to survive, right? In the early years, we're all like figuring out what's going on, and nobody has it figured out. Then I think I thought about success in a very classic climbing the corporate ladder kind of way of doing things. And I think over time, I've gotten to where I measure my success not by what I've accomplished, but the ripple effect of what I've done and what other people have been able to accomplish as a result of things that I've done that have impacted them. So it's not just my performance, it's my team's performance that I look at and measure. If my team can go on and take on other roles and other functions or organizations and succeed there, that's how I measure my success now. Where I used to be more personal about my success, it used to be more individual, and I think now it's more system level success that I think about.
That's awesome. Do you see it like more collective, helping people elevate where
Yeah,
they are? Yes.
and more contagious too. Like I sort of think about the other businesses that those people have gone on to touch. Are they impacting other people? Are they driving those businesses towards success? Are they laying down great performance? And that's how I assess if I'm doing the right things or things in the right way.
Yes, yes, I understand. So it's so interesting because as you mentioned, I look at my team, and as we are growing, I'm always trying to level up and learn new things and see how can I bring them up, because if I go too far away and I'm not bringing the team up, I feel like I miss something important, right? To
And
your
you do.
yes,
You,
yeah,
from a selfish standpoint, you are sub-optimizing your own performance.
yeah,
But from a wider point of view, you're missing out on what I'll call real options. Sort of options in the financial market are like, I have the right to buy something later on if it increases in value, but I've bought that, made that little investment up front that allows me to have that choice later on. Real options in the world are that things you invest in that you think will improve in value later. And these people are those financial options in the real world, the real options. And having that sort of impact on them, you may be creating the next CEO of your company. You may be creating the person who leapfrogs where you are. You want to set them up to not just come along with you, but to go further than you do so that you can slipstream off of them. I'm a terrible like addict for Olympics, right? I love to watch sports at the Olympic level. I love the performance and the extraordinary performance they have, but also the collegiality and collaboration they have. And I was watching a lot of the pelotons in speed skating and also in biking. And, no one can win those events without others who they slipstream. And often the person in the behind may come along to be the person who eventually is in the lead. And over generations and years, the leader will change. And I want to make sure I'm planting enough seeds so that my followers at some point become the leaders.
yes, 100%. It's definitely elevating the people around you, and I love that. It has a highest return of investment. Let's call it that way.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
it,
I love,
as Warren Buffett would say, the power of compounding
yes.
cannot be underestimated, right?
Yep.
All of those are investments that you're making. You can never beat a single investment with a compounding investment. And the investments in your teams are compounding investments. And that's what will get your company to the performance that it needs. And if you're not doing it, your competitor will, and they will beat you with it.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I love that. And you mentioned Warren Buffett and investing because I love that. I love that area. And I'm not sure about your situation, but many of the people I speak with, careers like yours and other type of very busy professionals, they're doing incredible, successful in their careers or business, but that success, Melissa, comes with long hours and a lot of responsibility. And I know that some people start thinking about the future when they want to keep that level of leadership commitment or even the income that high, but they don't want to work so hard for it. And I'm just curious, right? Because they start asking, their priority changes and they start asking questions on how do I create that income, how do I create that return of investment, right, especially in the teen group, beyond the work they do every day. And some of them spend a lot of time developing their team so they can step out of the roles they have. And to
Yep.
your point, Warren Buffett is a great example of that. When he stepped down, I was like, oh my God, he has been seasoning all of this. And also some people think investing in like monetary stuff. You have experience like that in stocks, in bonds, financial planners. You have worked with people like that, real estate, crypto. What are your thoughts about creating income outside of work?
Well, I will tell you right off the bat, I am I am terrible about work-life balance. Um, and I am also not particularly money motivated.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make me excited, tell me about someplace I can make a difference in the world. Yes, I have to do these other things, but when I'm thinking about sort of the compounding effects of these things, having enough to support, what I need to do to earn a living is important, but I also want to make sure that it's that growth and learning and giving back that really is compounding. And so the things that I tend to do outside of work are all about giving back and compounding it for other people, whether that's being a volunteer teacher for finance and investing for teenagers, or anything else. So I'm not sure that I think about it maybe in a classic way. I often think about like what's the value of my life and is my contribution scaling up? Not is my pay scaling up, but is my contribution to the world scaling up? And am I using myself as a force multiplier for adding value? And so I kind of measure value and that compounding effect from the standpoint of what I've contributed and what I think those contributions will result in. Um, so I'm not sure if that addresses your question, but that's how I think about it.
Yeah, no, that's actually amazing because it's very challenging. Sometimes people ask me, it's very challenging to just do the things for money when you have a passion and you can create that impact, whether it's socioeconomic, environmental, or increasing someone else's life of quality by teaching those skills, people, it's hard for them to measure the ROI, right? Do you want a
Well,
metric?
there are so many things we do in life that on paper have a terrible ROI.
Yeah.
Um, I have kids. Guess what? That ROI looks terrible. I'm paying for college. I've raised them for 20 years. If that's the only measure I have, I would be so far underwater. And the same is true for a lot of other things. And so I think as soon as I had kids, I had to reassess some things. And it was true when I went to school because a lot of the, you know, I chose to step out of the workforce to go to school. And if you do the math, that was a negative ROI. Um, but it's an investment in the capabilities that I have that resulted in other things. I stayed home with my kids for 10 years and homeschooled them before stepping back into the workforce. Again, if I was a pure capitalist looking only at near term ROI,
Yes.
that
Yep.
was probably not the smartest decision from a purely financial standpoint. But would I do it again in a heartbeat? Absolutely. And what I got out of it were other things. So you got to think about value in a more holistic way and your returns and investment in that more holistic way. Um, as
Yeah.
well. It's not that money doesn't matter, and because let's face it, we all have to feed and clothe ourselves. And I know I'm paying for, college tuition, but it's a yes and I think it gets back to that. Do you have to choose between this and that? And I think the answer is no. You don't have to be a jerk in order to be a high performer. You can be a high performer and a good person, and often one will help you be the other. It's like when we see these Olympians who, in order to get in the door, they have to be at an extraordinary high level. They've done lots of work, they've worked hard at it, they perform at a very high level. We also see extraordinary sportsmanship as they help one another, as they, will comfort one another when it doesn't go as well as it could. They will coach one another and help them be better, even though it's their competition. I don't want my competition to be worse. I want them to be as good as possible, and I want to be as good as possible. And I think that's how I approach the world of work and the world of life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because in fact it pushes you to be better in both sides. It's like if you want to level up your competition too, and you will see how you try to, get ahead. Make sure that you're ahead and bringing your team with you. And to your point, if you don't have your team, then it's just one of you against the world with your talents. And is bringing the team, it becomes a powerful universe of a star trying to shine in this world. And let's see which universe shine, the competition on your team, right? So
Absolutely. And the thing is, you need, some of the leading researchers who, Kahneman would say, Daniel Kahneman has studied internal bias more than like anybody else. And even he says, I can't overcome my own biases. The only way to do it is to get other people's perspective on my situation so they can keep me from falling into those same cognitive traps that I fall into. And the same thing is true for us. I don't know who discovered water, but it certainly wasn't the fish. And I don't know who's going to see my mistakes, but it's less likely to be me. And I need those other people around me on those teams, whether it's my competitor or my own teammates, to see the shortfalls that I have and help me level up. And I need to do that for them as well. I mean, we're all part of the human condition in the same journey, and business works the same way too. If you want to level up, talk to your competition, find out what they're doing, but find out what they think you stink at and look at it. Don't dismiss it, but learn from it. And
yeah,
that will help you get better.
yes, you learn so much by getting what you suck at it too. It's like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yes. And yes, sometimes one of the things I love, I spend time figuring out what do I do well, but learning what I suck at it is the one that give me the opportunity to 2x, 3x my business. It's like, okay, I won't be able to do that one, or I'm not interested. Let me bring someone who is amazing at it. right? Because we need that for the team. I spent a lot of time these past 2 years just on that, right? And I love it. I love it. So
And I think you find that by looking for what other people are extraordinary at. And this is another lesson that I take from Warren Buffett is that, all of his shareholder letters spend a lot of time telling us about these other people he found and what he discovered they were extraordinary at and how he values that. That is what levels us up as well when we're able to identify greatness in other people and say, yes, me too. I want to be involved in that. I want you to be involved in this because you're good at this and I need you. So looking for those strengths in other people is really valuable.
yes, definitely. Definitely. I feel I can talk to you forever, Melissa. Let me ask you something. We're getting to the end of the show, but what is something that you enjoy outside of work?
Oh my gosh, my kids would laugh because when they were asked when they were kids what mom would do with her hobbies, they're like, explain what a hobby is. And the teacher said, well, what would she do if she had an extra hour? They're like, nap. Um, I am, because I'm a yes person, I'm willing to try a lot of things and I say yes to a lot of things, but I'm really bad at choosing things for myself. So I don't have a lot of hobbies, but I do have a lot of passion projects where other people have come and said, I'm working on this. And I stuck my hand up and said, I'll support that. I'll help with that. I'll do that. So in my spare time, I teach. I teach as a volunteer. I get involved with other things. If I see somebody doing a project that I think is worthwhile and there's any way I can help, I'm all in for that. I also send care packages to college students. I, any number of things. If I see it and it looks fun and somebody else is doing it, I'm all for helping, and that's what I do in my spare time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Melissa, if people want to go get hold of you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
They can connect to me on LinkedIn. They can go find the book, The Intentional Executive. They can find my colleagues at adluchamgroup.com. They can also go to collaborativegain.com, which is where the councils are, or wbrg.org, where my World of Business reading group is. But any of those places, they can get to me and I will respond and be happy to engage with you. Just tell me, what I can do for you and what interesting thing you've got going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your journey. I know that a lot of our people in our audience will enjoy it, get inspired, and who knows? I know that some of them will reach out to you too because of the amazing things you are doing. So thank you again for being.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here and to get to engage with you. I feel like I'm not sure how much value I added, but getting to know you has been great. And I can't wait to hear what everybody else is doing, what extraordinary things they're doing.
You've been listening to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado, where bold women lead the way. Ready to share your spark? Apply to be a guest at catchherspark.com/guest.